At Christmas dinner, my brother bragged I'd never drive a car like his. So I tossed him the keys to my $200,000 Mercedes and said, I own 3. Your support is everything to us. Please subscribe, and while you're at it, tell us where you're watching from. We love connecting with you all. The smell of honey-glazed ham filled Mama's kitchen, but I could barely taste the mac and cheese on my plate. Across the table, my brother Craig wouldn't shut up about his new BMW. $45,000 paid in cash, he announced, loud enough for the entire house to hear. I watched Mama's eyes light up with that familiar pride she reserved only for him. My younger sister Sonia caught my eye and rolled hers, but nobody else seemed to notice Craig was on his 3rd glass of wine and his 2nd round of bragging. That's wonderful, baby, Mama cooed, patting his hand. My son, the success story. I focused on cutting my ham into precise pieces. At 32, I'd learned to make myself small at these gatherings. Craig was 35, and in our family he'd always been the son we all orbited around. Star quarterback in high school. Business degree from Howard. Now a mid-level manager at some tech startup. Meanwhile, I'd taken the embarrassing route, community college, worked my way up, kept my head down. Alexis probably can't even imagine driving something that nice, Craig said, gesturing at me with his fork. No offense, sis, but that Honda Civic in the driveway has seen better days. The table went quiet. My father's jaw tightened, but he said nothing. He never did when it came to Craig. Uncle Jerome shifted uncomfortably, and Aunt Penny suddenly became very interested in her collard greens. Sonia, bless her, opened her mouth to defend me, but I touched her arm gently. Not yet. That Civic runs just fine, I said evenly, my voice steady despite the heat rising in my chest. Craig leaned back in his chair, that smug smile I knew so well spreading across his face. Come on, Alex. I'm not trying to hurt your feelings. I'm just saying, we grew up in the same house, had the same opportunities, but some of us made better choices. He paused to let that sink in, then continued. I mean, you're what, a secretary? An administrative assistant. He said it like the words tasted dirty in his mouth. Executive assistant to the CEO of Meridian Holdings, I corrected quietly. There's a difference. Right, he waved dismissively. Still answering phones and making coffee though, yeah? While I'm closing deals and building portfolios. No shame in it, but let's be real about who's actually successful here. My cousin Dante, who'd been silent until now, finally spoke up. Man, that's your sister. Why you talking to her like that? I'm not being mean, I'm being honest, Craig shot back. Mama didn't raise us to make excuses. She raised us to excel. Some of us just listen better. His eyes met mine with a challenge I'd seen 1,000 times before. This wasn't new. This was Craig reminding everyone of the hierarchy he'd established in childhood and maintained through sheer force of personality. I remembered being 8 years old watching him get his first trophy. Football, I think. Mama had hung it on the mantle like it was made of solid gold. When I brought home straight A's, she'd smiled and said, "That's nice, baby," before turning back to whatever Craig needed. The pattern had been set early. You remember that time in high school? Craig continued, warming to his subject now. He was performing for an audience and he knew he had won. When Alex wanted to go to that fancy art school in New York. Thank God Daddy talked sense into her. Imagine wasting money on that pipe dream. I felt my chest tighten. That memory still stung even 15 years later. I'd been accepted to Pratt Institute with a partial scholarship. I'd worked 3 jobs to save money for the rest. But Daddy had sat me down and explained very calmly that they couldn't afford to help me, not with Craig's tuition at Howard. Be reasonable, Alexis, he'd said. Your brother's getting a business degree. That's a real career. Art is a hobby. So I'd stayed. Community college. Worked full-time. clawed my way up from receptionist to where I was now. And Craig had partied his way through Howard with a 2.8 GPA and Daddy's checkbook keeping him afloat. That worked out for the best though, didn't it? Mama interjected, trying to smooth things over like she always did. Everything happens for a reason. Does it? I heard myself say. The words surprised even me. Craig's eyebrows shot up. Oh, are we getting sensitive now? Can't handle a little family honesty? No, I can handle honesty just fine, I said, setting down my fork carefully. I'm just wondering whose version of honesty we're working with here. What's that supposed to mean? Craig's voice took on an edge. He didn't like being challenged, especially not in front of the family. I took a breath, feeling Sonia's hand squeeze mine under the table. It means you've been taking shots at me since you walked in here 3 hours ago. My car, my job, my choices. I'm just curious what I did to deserve the Craig Williams Greatest Hits special on Christmas. Sensitive, he muttered, reaching for the wine bottle again. Aunt Penny quietly moved it away from him. You know what your problem is, Alex? He said, leaning forward. You've always been jealous. Even when we were kids. Jealous that I was better at sports, that girls liked me, that Mama and Daddy were proud of me. You've spent your whole life in my shadow and you can't stand it. The room felt smaller suddenly. My father finally spoke. Craig, that's enough. No, let him finish, I said, my voice stronger now. I want to hear this. What else am I jealous of, Craig? Your 2 failed engagements? Your DUI last year that Daddy paid a lawyer $5,000 to make disappear? Or maybe the $20,000 you borrowed from Mama's retirement fund that you've never paid back? Craig's face went red. How do you? Sonia tells me things, I said simply. My sister looked guilty but didn't deny it. I don't broadcast family business like you do, but I know plenty. Craig stood up so fast his chair nearly toppled backward. You think you're better than me? Is that it? You think because you know some family gossip you can sit there and judge me? I don't think I'm better than you, Craig. I never have. That's always been your thing, not mine. I stood up too, meeting his eyes across Mama's good china and Christmas centerpiece. But I am tired of being your punching bag every time you need to feel big. Alexis, baby, sit down, Mama pleaded. It's Christmas. We're family. Family is supposed to build each other up, Mama, I said, not breaking eye contact with Craig. Not tear each other down for sport. Oh, here we go, Craig laughed, but it sounded hollow. The victim card. Classic Alexis. Nothing is ever your fault, is it? You made your choices. You chose the easy path, the safe path. Don't blame me because I took risks and they paid off. Risks. The word came out sharper than I intended. You call having everything handed to you taking risks? Daddy paid your rent for 2 years after college while you found yourself. Mama bought your furniture. Uncle Jerome got you that first job interview. The only risk you've ever taken is assuming the rest of us wouldn't notice how much help you've had. Dante whistled low. Dem Alex. Tell him. Stay out of this, Craig snapped, pointing at our cousin. Then back to me. You want to compare lives? Fine. Let's do it. I drive a BMW. You drive a 10-year-old Honda. I own a condo in Buckhead. You rent an apartment in College Park. I make 6 figures. You probably make what, 50 grand? Try 180, I said quietly. The room went silent. Even the Christmas music playing from Mama's old stereo seemed to fade into background static. Craig's smile froze. What? $180,000, I repeated louder this time. That's my salary. Plus bonuses and stock options that brought me to about $230 last year. Aunt Penny dropped her fork. Uncle Jerome straightened in his chair, suddenly very interested in this conversation. Sonia was grinning like the Cheshire Cat. You're lying, Craig said flatly. Am I? I pulled out my phone, navigated to my banking app and turned the screen toward him. I watched the color drain from his face as he registered the numbers. My checking account alone had more than his annual salary. How? He started then stopped. His confidence was evaporating in real time, and watching it happen felt both satisfying and sad. Turns out being an executive assistant to the CEO of a Fortune 500 company pays pretty well, I said, pocketing my phone. Especially when you're good at it. Especially when you work 12-hour days and take business classes at night and earn every single promotion through actual merit instead of family connections. Mama's hand was pressed to her chest. Alexis, why didn't you tell us? When Mama. Between listening to Craig brag or being told to be more like Craig. The words came out more bitter than I'd intended, but they were true. I learned a long time ago that my achievements don't count the same as his. Craig was pacing now, his hands running through his hair. Okay, fine. You make good money. Congratulations. That doesn't change the fact that you're still driving around in that piece of crap Honda like you're broke. The Honda's not mine, I said simply. He stopped pacing. What? The Civic in the driveway. It's not my car. It's Sonia's. I lent it to her because her Mazda's in the shop getting a new transmission. I looked at my baby sister, who nodded confirmation. I drove my work car here today. Want to see it? Something in my tone must have warned him, because Craig's face went from red to pale. Your work car, he repeated slowly. Company car, I corrected. One of the perks. My boss lets me use it on weekends and holidays. I stood up, reached into my purse and pulled out a key fob. The Mercedes logo gleamed under the dining room lights. It's the black Mercedes S-Class in the driveway. You probably walked right past it when you parked your BMW. Uncle Jerome started laughing. He tried to cover it with a cough, but everyone heard it. An S-Class. Dante pulled out his phone, already Googling. Those start at like 150 grand. 200,000, I corrected. For the specific model in the driveway. Has all the upgrades. Massaging seats, heads-up display, the works. I tossed the key fob to Craig. He caught it reflexively, staring at it like it might bite him. Want to take it for a spin? Compare it to your $45,000 BMW? There's no way, Craig started, but his voice trailed off. He was holding the key fob like it was evidence in a crime he couldn't quite figure out. Go look, I challenged. It's parked right next to your car. Actually, I think it's blocking you in. Sorry about that. Craig moved toward the window and half the family followed him. I stayed at the table, my heart pounding but my hands steady. Sonia squeezed my shoulder as she passed. Holy shit, I heard Dante say from the living room. That's a Mercedes S-Class, Craig. She's not playing. When Craig came back to the dining room, his expression was unreadable. So you have a company car. Big deal. That doesn't mean. I own 3 cars, I interrupted. 3. The Mercedes is just what I drive when I need to look professional. My personal car is a Range Rover. That's in my garage at home. And I have a 1969 Mustang Mach 1 that I restored myself. That one's in climate-controlled storage because it's worth about $75,000 and I only drive it on special occasions. The silence was deafening. I could see Mama doing the math in her head, trying to reconcile this information with the daughter she thought she knew. You restored a Mustang? Daddy said, and for the first time all night I heard something like respect in his voice. Took me 3 years, I confirmed. Remember when I used to disappear on weekends? He thought I was going out with friends. I was at Uncle Jerome's garage, learning everything he'd teach me. Uncle Jerome nodded, smiling. Girl's got better hands than most mechanics I know. Taught her everything she wanted to learn. This is ridiculous, Craig said, but his voice lacked conviction. You're making this up. All of it. Am I? I pulled up the photos on my phone. My Range Rover in my driveway, the Mustang at the classic car show I'd entered it in last summer where it won Best Restoration, the deed to my house in Cascade Heights. I passed the phone around the table, watching faces change as they scrolled through the evidence of a life I'd built in silence. You own a house? Mama's voice cracked. In Cascade Heights? 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, bought it 2 years ago, I confirmed. Got a good deal because it needed work. Spent 6 months renovating it myself. Well, me and the contractors I hired. It's worth about $450 now. Paid $320. Sonia was openly crying now, happy tears streaming down her face. I told you, she said to no one in particular. I told y'all my sister was doing her thing. Craig slammed his hand on the table, making the glasses jump. Why are you doing this? Why are you trying to embarrass me in front of my family? Your family. The words came out sharp as broken glass. Craig, this is my family too. And I'm not trying to embarrass you. You embarrassed yourself. You've been attacking me all night, trying to make yourself feel bigger by making me feel small. I'm just setting the record straight. You lied to us, he accused. You let us think. I didn't let you think anything, I cut him off. You assumed. You all assumed because I didn't brag about my life that I didn't have one worth bragging about. Daddy cleared his throat. Alexis, why didn't you tell us about any of this? I looked at my father, really looked at him, and saw the question underneath the question. Why had I hidden my success? Why had I let them treat me like the family disappointment when I was anything but? Because I was tired, I said simply. Tired of competing for attention that always went to Craig anyway. Tired of being told my accomplishments weren't as important. When I got my first promotion, I called Mama. She said, "That's nice, honey," and then spent 30 minutes telling me about Craig's new girlfriend. When I bought my house, I invited everyone over for a housewarming. Only Sonia and Uncle Jerome showed up. Craig had a birthday party the same weekend and everyone chose that instead. Mama's face crumpled. I don't remember. I know you don't, I said gently. That's the problem. You never did. So I stopped sharing. I stopped hoping you'd be proud of me the way you're proud of him. I just lived my life. Craig was pacing again, pulling at his collar. This is insane. You're all acting like she's some kind of hero. So what if she makes money? Money isn't everything. You're right, I agreed. Money isn't everything. But respect is. And you've been disrespecting me since we were kids, and everyone let you because you were the golden boy. The star. The one who could do no wrong. That's not fair, Mama protested weakly. Isn't it? Sonia spoke up, her voice fierce. Mama, I love you, but Alex is right. You and Daddy have always favored Craig. Always. Even when he screwed up, you made excuses. But Alex, she had to be perfect just to be noticed. Craig turned on Sonia. You don't know what you're talking about. You were just a kid. I'm 28 years old, Sonia fired back. I'm not a kid anymore, and I've watched this dynamic my whole life. Alex raised me more than y'all did. Who helped me with homework? Alex. Who taught me to drive? Alex. Who paid for my books when I started community college because y'all said you couldn't afford it? Alex did that too. I touched Sonia's arm, trying to calm her, but she shook her head. No, Alex. No more being quiet. No more making yourself small so Craig can feel big. Uncle Jerome stood up, his chair scraping against the floor. I need to say something. I should have said it years ago. He looked at my parents. Y'all have been blind. Blind and unfair. I love my nephew, but Craig has had everything handed to him and he's still barely making it. Meanwhile, Alexis built an empire with no help from anybody, and y'all didn't even notice. Empire is a strong word, I murmured. No, it's the right word, Uncle Jerome insisted. You own 3 cars, a house in one of the best neighborhoods in Atlanta. You make more money than most people see in 5 years, and you did it all by yourself. That's an empire, baby girl. Craig looked around the table, seeing the shift happening in real time. His supremacy, carefully maintained for 35 years, was crumbling. This is bullshit, he spat. You're all turning on me because she flashed some money around? No, Daddy said quietly, and everyone turned to look at him. We're seeing clearly for the first time in a long time. And son, what we're seeing isn't pretty. Craig's face went through several emotions: shock, anger, hurt, denial. Dad, come on. You're seriously taking her side. There are no sides, Craig, Daddy said, his voice heavy with something that might have been regret. There never should have been. But if I'm being honest, and it's past time for honesty, we failed Alexis. We failed her badly, and we let you treat her poorly because it was easier than dealing with your ego. My ego? Craig's voice went high and tight. I'm not the one who showed up to Christmas dinner and turned it into a financial pissing contest. You started it, Sonia said coldly. You literally started it by bragging about your car and putting Alex down. She just finished it. I stood up again, suddenly exhausted. I didn't come here to start a war. I came because it's Christmas and I wanted to spend time with my family. But I'm done being your punching bag, Craig. I'm done being the person you put down so you can feel lifted up. I'm done pretending to be less than I am so you can feel comfortable. Craig stared at me, and for the first time I saw something crack in his facade. You think this is easy for me? Having a sister who... He stopped, shook his head. Forget it. Say it, I pushed. Having a sister who what? Who's better than me? The words exploded out of him. There. Happy. You've always been better than me, and I've spent my whole life trying to prove otherwise. Smarter, harder working, more disciplined. I knew it even when we were kids. I just hoped nobody else would notice if I was loud enough. The confession hung in the air like smoke after a fire. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Craig's chest was heaving, his eyes bright with tears he refused to let fall. I didn't want to be better than you, I said softly. I wanted to be your sister. I wanted you to be proud of me the way I used to be proud of you. Before the competition, before the comparisons. I wanted us to be family. Craig wiped his face roughly. Well, congratulations. You won. You're the success story now. The one they'll all talk about. Hope it feels good. He grabbed his jacket from the back of his chair and headed for the door. Mama started to follow him, but Daddy put a hand on her arm. Let him go, Sharon. He needs time. We listened to the BMW start up, the engine too loud in the quiet neighborhood, tires squealing slightly as Craig pulled away. The house felt different without him in it, lighter somehow but also sadder. Mama turned to me, tears streaming down her face. Baby, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I let her hug me, let myself feel the weight of years of invisibility lifting. Daddy joined us, then Sonia, then Uncle Jerome and Aunt Penny and Dante. We stood there in Mama's dining room, surrounded by cold Christmas dinner and warm family, and something started to heal. Later that night, after helping clean up and promising to bring everyone to my house next Christmas, I drove home in my Mercedes. My phone buzzed, a text from Craig. 3 words, I'm sorry, sis. I didn't reply immediately. Some things needed time. But as I pulled into my driveway past my Range Rover and with my Mustang waiting in storage, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Free. Free to be exactly who I was without apology or explanation. And that, I realized, was worth more than all 3 cars combined.